Today we're going to be talking about this camera, the Sony FX30, and why I think it's the perfect video camera for me, and why I think it may be the perfect one for you too, depending on what you do. So, let's talk about it. If you don't already, I'm Jamie from Mandatory Media. I'm a photographer and filmmaker, and I make videos about the work I do and how I do it. And if that sounds interesting to you, look, I can go on and on about the specs of this camera and get really cerebral about it, but that's not really what I want this video to be about. There are plenty of other videos like that probably cover it way more than I do. This is just more so about how I use it in my specific use case and why I think it's a great fit for myself and potentially someone else who shoots kind of the similar thing that I do. And how this camera hasn't been a creative hindrance, but actually has been an aid to creativity. And ultimately how older doesn't always mean worse. Alright, so let's talk about the things I love about the FX30, but first I just want to give you a little bit of context about how I use this camera. So mainly I do events, and I also do a fair bit of narrative and commercial work too. So while this camera is insanely inexpensive for the features that this little body packs in my opinion, it does like what, 80% of what an FX3 does, but at half the price. I mean, the value on this thing is insane. In my opinion, the FX30 is a perfect intro camera to someone who wants to step into cinematography, but also an intro to the greater Sony cinema line as well. And not to mention, this camera's been out for a few years, so you can probably snag this camera at a very, very good deal in the secondhand market. I love the secondhand market. This I bought new, but I'm sure I could have gotten way cheaper from outside. The design on the FX30 is nothing short of fantastic. It has this premium feel to it and has all sorts of programmable buttons, and they're super tactile, but weirdly enough, my favorite part of the design of the FX30 is actually the record button at the front. You can see that right here. You can hit the record button over there and as well as on the top. So this came in clutch. Because sometimes you'd have it rigged out and you can't quite hit the record button on top. You could just move your index finger or your pinky or whatever and hit record from there. And yeah, weirdly enough, that's my favorite feature. Now, the next thing I like is the actual video quality. So this is a APS-C style sensor, which is downsampled from, I believe, 6K, and that creates this really nice sharp image, which is good because people are always talking about like the digital over sharpening thing. I totally get it, but I'd rather have that in the camera because then I can augment it later with like filters or post-production. So having the option of like a nice clean, almost blank slate, looks right at the camera, I'm super happy with, and I've used to achieve all sorts of different looks over the years with this camera. But I think as well, the thing that really pushed me to buy this camera, and the thing that I've loved about this camera ever since I bought it, is its reliability. This camera, the way it's built, the way the cooling system works, is incredibly reliable. I could take this thing out for full 12-day shoots and not have to worry about overheating, and the battery life is also fantastic. This thing is super reliable. I don't know what it is, if it's the APS-C sensor or the technological wizardry that goes inside there, but yeah, this thing is an absolute workhorse. And yeah, it just works. Another thing that I like about this camera is, well, not necessarily the camera itself, but the audio top handle that comes along with it. Now, I was debating even getting the audio top handle, but I ultimately caved, and I bought this bad boy secondhand for about half the price as it would have been brand new. I mean, I love the used market, always buy used, but yeah, this thing has really upped my audio game. The fact that I'm able to have professional XLR inputs and not have to worry about, syncing in post, it's just really streamlined a lot of the workflows where I've been able to implement this thing, and the fact that I can, mix my audio to an extent, adjust levels on the body itself has been absolutely fantastic. The ergonomics are a bit janky because without this little grip extender, it's like super short and I have to like have little baby hands or something to operate it. But yeah, as I said before, you can just get like a little accessory to fix it up. Which is another thing that I love about this camera, is that it is super riggable. So it's got all these screws. I think they're quarter 20s or whatever it is. But yeah, this, you almost like don't need a cage with it. I still do recommend getting a cage, and I have a cage for it. But the rigging possibilities on the FX30 The possibilities are endless, okay? Also, shout out to the recent firmware updates that have added a whole lot of like cinematic features to the FX30. The biggest thing that I'm thankful for is actually the addition of shutter angle, which, I mean, to be honest, I don't know why it didn't already come with shutter angle, but anyway, they've added a whole bunch of cool features in there. In the firmware updates, you know, you probably find hundreds of videos about that. That's also a huge plus for me. That's why I've been, you know, loving using the Sony FX30 for all these years. Okay, so let's talk about some not so epic things about this camera. The biggest hurdle I've had to deal with this camera is the noise. I feel like it's just a noisy sensor for whatever reason, even at like the base ISO of 800 or 2500. It's just like a little bit on the noisier side. On that note, I've been shooting originally exclusively externally onto Animals Ninja 5, and when you shoot internally, it automatically has some sort of like noise reduction feature, whereas if you shoot externally, it bypasses that. So the footage will be noisier coming out, say like Animals Ninja 5 if you record into an FSD or whatever, but internally it's not as bad. It's still, you know, it's still there, but I'm only noticing it because like I'm a bit of a perfectionist, but to be honest, it's fine. Like, I could live with it. It just means I have to really hug those native ISOs and light the scene to the specifications of this camera. Overall, it's not bad in low light situations. It's just kind of so-so. It's definitely usable, but it's, you know, you're not going to be seeing in the dark. It's not an FX3, you know what I mean, or an A7S III. Ultimately, usable, but not amazing. Look, what I'm trying to say is that you just have to understand with this camera that it's not an FX3. It's not a Lumix S1H or whatever. It's not a Nikon ZR even, you know? It has its own specific niche, and I just so happen to fall into that niche. And it fits squarely into my workflow. It won't fit into everyone's workflow. That kind of brings me to move on to like the broader issue or the broader conversation around cameras, is that I feel like there's all this pressure to get like the latest and greatest camera thing, right? But the reality of the situation is that all modern cameras are good. I feel like after what, like 2019, all cameras leveled out and they're all good. They will all do a good job as long as it shoots 422 10-bit in 4K, then you're laughing. Older does not mean worse, you know? Like, I even considered picking up an older cinema camera for myself. I mean, take a look at even the Red Komodo, the OG Red Komodo, after the price drops and everything. It's still a fantastic camera, even though it's like, what, 5-6 years old? Yeah, older does not always mean worse. This camera is not necessarily old. It's only 3 years old. I mean, for real, I feel like we're a bit desensitized to it on the internet. It's like, oh, 3 years, that's so old, you know what I mean? But no, this camera is not old at all, and it does a fantastic job, fits into my workflow, and I absolutely love it. This has not been a hindrance at all in my creativity. If anything, it's helped me be more creative. It makes me think about how do I light a scene for the specific camera. If I'm doing an event, where should I position myself in the event to get the best possible lighting to maximize the full extent of my tools? And I think that's what cinematography and videography is all about. You know, it's not necessarily about the camera all the time. If anything, the camera body is the least important thing. Lenses and lighting are far more, production design, far more important than what camera body you shoot on. You could shoot on an Arri Mini LF, and if your scene isn't properly lit or the production design is lacking, then it's not going to be great. Or even the sound. Dude, sound's way more important than the camera. I could talk about sound all day, but anyway, I suppose what I'm trying to say, FX30 good. I like FX30. Some of you guys might not. You're wrong. I'm just kidding. No, this is a great camera for my use case, and if you resonate at all with what I'm saying, then hey, you know, feel free to check it out. Ultimately, despite its flaws, I think the Sony FX30 is an absolutely phenomenal camera and worth it, actually, in 2025. Especially if you can get a good deal on it from the secondhand market. No brainer in my opinion. So there you have it, my thoughts on this little baby FX3 or big A16700, depending on how you look at it. If you like this content and would like to see more of it, please do like this video and also consider subscribing if you can. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one.